Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Andrews, and I'm the head of professional affairs for CooperVision in North America. I want to thank you for coming today to hear about future perspectives in optometry. And we hope that you leave here feeling inspired to perhaps consider a different point of view. We know that to succeed in business, you need to know where you're going and how you're going to get there. You need both a vision and a plan. But what if that plan included the ability to influence your market so that your patients saw a value proposition in you? What if you could shift the conversation from price to value, or from commodity to health and safety? Well, today we're going to hear from two distinguished businessmen who have done just that. And hopefully through their stories, you will be inspired to consider a different point of view. Dr. Andrew Neukirch is the owner of Carillon Vision Care, located in the North Chicago suburb of Glenview, Illinois. Carillon is a progressive two-doctor practice focusing on medical eye care, orthokeratology, specialty contact lenses, and vision therapy. Dr. Neukirch currently serves as the president of the North Chicago Society of the Illinois Optometric Association and is the Chicago member director for IDOC. In 2014, Dr. Neukirch was awarded the Vision Monday Optometric Business Innovator Award. There are a few situations in the business world that our second speaker has not experienced and survived. He's a serial entrepreneur who has founded and nurtured 12 businesses over 2 decades and has consulted to countless successful companies around the world over the last 25 years. He has also been a leader of leaders, having served as international president of the Elite Entrepreneurs Organization on their global board. Troy now shares his experiences through speaking engagements, his television talk shows, and his books. His most recent book, Future-Proofing Your Business, is an Amazon business bestseller. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin today with Troy Hazard.
So, I'm going to take a bit of a journey today. What we're trying to achieve here today is to just open your mind to different ways to do business. So I'm going to tell you a bit of a story about how we changed the way we've worked with all 12 companies that I've owned from one single incident that happened to me 20 years ago. I was at a conference much like this. There was about 500 people running around learning lots of great things, attending sessions like this, listening to speakers, networking, going to functions. And I had a really good couple of days. And my typical format would be come to an event like this, make a heap of notes, and on the way home in the aircraft, I would go through those notes and work out what I'm going to change when I get home. This event was no different. So I'm on the plane from Tokyo back to Sydney, Australia, and I'm going through my notes and I'm really excited about all this great stuff we're going to do because I've learned all these new things and it's really going to make an impact on the 4 different companies we had at the time. And after about 20 minutes of being really excited about all the changes we've made from going to conferences all over the world, I went to a really dark place because what I'd realised was I'd gone to these conferences, I'd taken notes, I'd learnt stuff, I'd gone back to my business and nothing had changed. I just went straight back into Groundhog Day, straight back into doing the do because there was so much to do and so much stuff right in front of me. So after a while I thought, well, let's not do that this time. Let's go back and try and do something differently. I went back to the office and I grabbed everybody into the boardroom and I said, look, usually I come running in the front doors and I'm really excited and I give you a bunch of things to do and nothing ever happens, nothing changes, and 3 days later we're back to the same old, same old. This time I'm going to go away and think about stuff for a few days and try and work out how we can really make a difference. I'm going to try and work out how we can shift a perspective on our future. And I went off and sat on a beach for a few days and just started writing some notes. What went wrong when I went back from a conference like this? What was I doing that was stopping us from evolving, from doing something differently, from learning new things? Well, the answer to the question was me. I wasn't leading people into the future. I was just getting things done and going as hard as I could because I figured if I went faster, we'd make more money. If we made more money, we'd make more profit. If we made more profit, life would be easier, and there we go. We've achieved our goal. But that wasn't happening. We just weren't getting far enough in front of it. So I started writing down a list of things that I was doing as a leader that was facilitating this roadblock in the business. And I came up with 4 or 5 key things that I felt I had to change to try and break down that roadblock. One in particular was that I had to make time. And one thing that we've all got to focus on when we leave this event is we've got to go home and try and find 30 minutes just to sit down and try and facilitate change. Otherwise, all the things you've learned here over the next couple of days will be lost. And that's what was happening to me. I'd go straight back into the things that were right in front of me, and I wouldn't take that moment in time to create a bit of a space in my head to create strategy. So one of the first habits I put into the business was for me to take 30 minutes a day just to dump stuff out of my head to work out a better path to a future. Now this is pretty key, and the first challenge I'm going to offer you today, find 30 minutes a day when you get home just to think differently about your business, to think differently about your future. Because if you don't, you can't construct strategy. The second thing is I had to work out where I was going. Now I had a business plan, just like a lot of you guys would, and I had goals and I had things that I wanted to achieve, but it still wasn't working for me. We still weren't getting further in front of the curve. We weren't getting further in front of our competitors. Interestingly enough, it was a non-related business activity that gave me the aha to change the entire course of our businesses over the last 20 years. I have 2 passions in my life, my family and motorsport. I race cars for fun, and I'm a lousy race car driver, but I just do it because it clears my head and it's a great day out. I was at an event in Sydney about the same time I'd just come back from this function, and I was going through the motions of practicing for the weekend, going around and round and round and going round and round and round, just trying to get a feel for the track. And I was having a pretty bad day. And in fact, I came down the main straight of the racetrack at about 140 miles an hour. I came into the first corner at about 110, and the car started to spin. Now, when you are spinning in a race car, you're a passenger. You are not driving that motor vehicle. Now, I came off the track, didn't hurt myself, didn't damage the car. I went back into the garage, and my instructor said to me, he said, "Come over here, I want to show you something." And he showed me a picture of the track. I said, "Yeah, I know, I was just out there." He said, "But here's what happened. You came off the racetrack in turn 1. I said, "Yes, I know. I was in the car. It was spinning. It was not a good experience." He said, "Do you know why you did that?" I said, "No, why?" He said, "Because you were focused on turn 1. I want you to come into turn 1 thinking about the strategy of turn 4. And I said, "I don't understand what you're saying." He said, "You know how to take turn 1. You intuitively, instinctively know when to brake, when to turn in, when to accelerate, when to get to the next corner. Why do you have to think about it?" And I said, "I still don't understand." He said, "If you know what you're doing intuitively here, why don't you focus on the strategy of the race? You are avoiding the accident. You're not focused on the strategy of winning the race." And all of a sudden, the penny dropped. That's what I was doing in business and in life. That's what we all do. We focus on the next patient, the next email, the next phone call, the next staff member, the next thing that I've got to do just to get the job done before I'm done at the end of the day. I go home and have a glass of wine and collapse into the couch. And then we do it the next day, and the next day, and the next day. I was just focusing on avoiding the accident, not on the strategy of winning the race. So this is my second challenge for you. Go back to your business and stop looking at what's here and start focusing on what's out there. Because if we can do that, we can create stronger vision for our business. Then we can learn how to evolve in the business. Then we can find a new perspective. Deeper than that, this was a great start for me, but I had to work out what I needed to do to actually execute on this great vision. So I came back to the business and we did a lot of brainstorming, and we came up with 3 basic things that we felt were going to change the course of our business moving forward. If we had clarity of vision and we knew where we were going, we had to work out who to influence to achieve that vision, and then how to execute on that influence. I'm going to step you through 4 basic case studies today that I think will relate to your business in your based on these 3 simple words. If we want to create stronger vision, it's not just about business vision. It's about personal vision. What do you want to be when you grow up? Where are you going? What do you want this business to do for you? Because it doesn't matter if you own the business or you work for the business. If you know what you want the business to do for you, then all of a sudden your business is working for you. You are not working for it. This is a big shift for me because we had 4 businesses at the time this happened to me. And I was working 18 hours a day, every single day, back to back, back. Sure, we're making lots of money, but I wasn't really clear on where I was going or what I wanted to achieve as a human being. But once I had purpose, once I had vision, and then matched that to the business vision, then the business was working for me. Now, it's easier. Now it's not a grand final, a Super Bowl every single day that I wake up, because I know what its purpose is. I know what it needs to do for me. Let me give you four basic examples of how this changed the way we looked at life. So we have a pool business here in the United States. We have about 20 retail stores and about 150 mobile units in backyards cleaning pools. Now, the vision for this business was simple. We needed to reorganize a disorganized category. In the pool industry, it's pretty simple. People stack things high and sell them low. It's a commodity. It's chemicals for your pool. It's equipment for your pool. It's really simple. So our job as a vision for that business was to try and work out how we could change the way people thought about us. So it wasn't a commodity sale. It was, in fact, an aspirational sale. Let me show you how this works. We needed to take these guys away from their price focus and give them a value focus. Stack it high, sell it low has it in my mind that all you do is sell a commodity, so I want it for as cheap as I possibly could. We needed to change the way they thought about us. We needed to have them understand that we did add value to the process of cleaning their pools. We add value to the process of what goes on in their backyard. And we did that by influencing them slightly differently. So what we had to do was to say, look, you believe you can do it yourself. You believe you can clean your own pool because you've been doing it for 20 years and you actually like it. And when we did some research, we found that Dad liked cleaning my pool. I sit in the backyard for 2 hours. I have a couple of beers. No one talks to me. It's great. Mum, on the other hand, had a different opinion. Mum said, yeah, but the kids have got earaches and belly aches and they've got yellow hair. Clearly you're not doing a very good job. So we had to shift the focus away from I'm doing it myself because it's cheap to the aspiration of I am doing it for the family because it's safe. Can you see the connection in your business? People come in and they think that we're a commodity. But if we can give them the aspirational positioning of your business, the vision that you're trying to create, the influence you want to have over these guys, that you are not just a commodity, you in fact exist because of their family and the safety and well-being of their eye care. In the pool business, we shifted the mindset of the consumer to make the importance more about safety and less about price. Now, in the process, our average competitor makes about $1,200 a year out of their clients. We make about $2,500. So the entire focus has been, you guys serve a purpose for me because you're keeping my family safe. Now, the execution of this is pretty simple. The executional process was to shift them from the customer we had to the client we want. Because what happens sometimes is that we've got a bunch of clients coming in and out of the business. We've got patients that turn up every single month, every single year, looking for the same stuff from us. But are they the patients we want? Have we bothered to think about that? Because a lot of these businesses that I've worked with over the years have a lot of customers, but it's not necessarily the customer they want. It's the customer they have. I'll give you a classic example. I consulted to a card and gift company a number of years ago. And I said to them, who is your customer? And they said, our customer is a 14-year-old female. And I said, why is that? Because that's the person who comes into our store the most. I said, okay, let's go and do some research. We went off and did some research. The 14-year-old female spends $15 a year on cards and gifts in their store. The 35-year-old female, in fact, spends $68 a year on exactly the same products. They had 14-year-old females coming in because they were servicing a 14-year-old female mindset. As soon as they shifted the mindset to a 35-year-old female, sales went up. And they didn't just have customers, they had clients. We don't have customers in our business, we have clients. Clients are people who come back and know you and trust you. They're not transient patients. These guys respect what you do for them, and they come back because of that respect. This was a shift in the pool business, which has taken us from a standing start 2 years ago with no stores and no mobile units to 22 stores and 150 mobile units in that short period of time. Because we shifted the mindset of the community from price to value. That's case study one. Let's look at another case study for you. For a number of years, I had an advertising agency in Australia. Now, it's a pretty competitive environment. Now, what would typically happen in an advertising agency is you would be briefed on a job, you would do the job, and you would charge for it. The problem with that is getting paid. because the margins are low, but the volume of work you do is quite high. So our vision for that business, going back to vision, influence, and execution, our vision for the business was simple. We had to change the mindset of those individuals and shift the market from what would be do the job and charge for it to charge for the job and then go do it. Now, think about this. I get a brief for a $100,000 television commercial. I'd have to go and do the job, wear that cash flow, and then hopefully get paid for it 6, 8 weeks, maybe 90 days later. So we turned around and said, well, how about we do this? How about I start charging you a retainer, a monthly retainer for my services and my strategic advice? And they all went, why would we do that? Because that's why you hire me. You don't hire me to create a television commercial for you. You hire me to come up with these great ideas to help you grow your business. You hire me for the strategy. You're just not paying me for it. That's the problem. You believe that my product is the outcome of the television commercial, but it's not. It's the strategy. So we need to just shift the mindset of these guys to say, well, let's put you on a monthly retainer for my creativity, for my smarts, and then we'll go and do your job for you. Two things happen here. If you've got this process of do and charge versus charge and do, your mindset shifts dramatically. Because if you are in your business worried about cash, worried about the next patient coming in, worried about getting paid, you are not focusing on your patients. You can't, because your headspace is focused on paying the bills, making sure staff are paid, making sure you got the rent paid, making sure that you can get the IRS paid. All your processing up here is where the next dollar's coming from, not where the next patient is coming from. In our advertising agency, we were always cash poor. We're always chasing money. So while I'm chasing money and focusing on the cash, I am not focusing on my clients. We had to shift our mindset that we focus totally on what we could do for you and less about worrying about the cash. And the only way to do it from do it and charge for it to charge for it and then go do it. From an influence perspective, we had to then change the rules where we're saying we are charging you ahead of time because we want to be proactive with your business, not reactive. Because at the moment, we're out there getting a brief from you, doing the job, getting it done as fast as we can, getting it to market. But if I'm doing strategy for you, if I'm taking the time to think about your future, I'm being proactive with the way I'm handling your business, not reactive. That's why you pay me in advance every month on a retainer so that I've got my cash flow covered and you know that you've got a business that's more strategically sound, because now I'm not just looking at the day-to-day of your business, I'm taking your business from a solution to a strategy. We're now thinking more positively about your future. If you had more time in your day to think more about your patients, what could you do to take them on a journey with you into their future, to manage their health better over the next 2, 3, 5 years' time? From an execution perspective, the simplicity of this was the traditional way of doing business with the advertising agency was to do the job and get paid for it. We had to transform the industry to think differently about the way they did things. Now, as a result, a lot of people in that industry now work the same way. They charge a retainer every month and go off and then do the work on an executional basis. See the difference? Vision, shift the mindset. Influence, look at this as a strategy, not just a solution. And then to execute, be distinctive and disruptive to the industry. Go out there and change the way people are thinking about it. I mean, you've all heard this word disruption. I'm disruptive in the marketplace. You know, there's disruptive businesses of Apple and Tesla and all these sort of great companies. You can be just as disruptive in your backyard with your competitors if you think about it a bit differently. We were disruptive as a small player in the advertising world amongst giants, but because we shifted our mindset and we stopped having to worry about cash and could worry about our clients, we could be more strategic in how we were attacking our competitors and disrupting the market. See the bigger picture here? All the dots start joining. Let me give you another example. About 2 or 3 years ago, I was working for an electrical contracting company in Australia. Now, electricians are pretty straightforward. Something's broken in your house, go and fix it for you. Air conditioning unit or a light bulb fixed or something. They fix it. Their world is pretty straightforward. Their world is pretty much one and done. I do one job for you and I'm done. You've called me, I've fixed your problem, I've left, we're over and out. We needed to shift that business from one and done so that we were the one and only provider we had for that client. So instead of saying, Mrs. Brown, yes, we'll come and fix the job for you, it was, Mrs. Brown, let me come out and do an audit on your property to make sure it is safe for all of your electrical devices in the property. So what we were saying to Mrs. Brown was, we want all your money. Because what happened in this business was they had 14,000 clients on their database. Now, do the math in your head as I'm going through with this for me. 14,000 clients on their database. The average person spends $2,000 a year on electrical stuff around the house. Air conditioning, ceiling fans, lighting, something like that. Believe it or not, the average homeowner spends $2,000 a year. This business was not doing $28 million a year. In fact, it was doing closer to 3. See my point? We're out there looking for the next client as you guys look for the next patient when they're already here. We just needed to talk to the 14,000 people we had and take $2,000 off each and every one of them. $2,000 we know that they're spending. We know that they're spending. And that gives us an opportunity to then do $28 million in revenue, which is exactly what we did over the next 3 years. By simply focusing on shifting the mind shift, shifting the vision from one and done to being the one and only place that those 14,000 people went to for electrical services. So what we did essentially was saying, well, that's the new rules for the business. We need to then stop taking instructions from our clients and start being more intuitive with them. So of the 50 or 60 technicians we had in the field, guys that would screw things into walls and run around in trucks with electrical things in it, all we asked them to do was to go into a home and not just do the job we were asked to do, but to be more intuitive about what else we could do for them. Open your eyes to what else we can do in that house. So you've gone in to fix a ceiling fan. Does the air conditioning unit make noises? Is there something else that's not quite right in the house? We don't need you to sell anything. We just need you to be intuitive about what's going on and bring the information back to us. Because if you can do that, then all of a sudden we've got a greater opportunity to get $2,000 off every single individual that we've got on our 14,000 database. Now these 2 young guys that owned the business, 3 years later they sold it for $1 zillion. Now these are 2 average guys with a great little business, turned it from a $3 million business to a $30 million business in 3 years because they weren't just taking instructions. I can't see straight. Okay, we'll fix that for you. They were being intuitive about what was next. I can't see straight. We'll fix that for you. Oh, and by the way, let me help you manage your eye care for the next 12 months, 2 years, 5 years. We need to understand their journey if we're going to do that. We need to know what we can do to assist them on that journey. And the only way to do that is to get the data on them. We had 14,000 people on the database and we weren't understanding their journey. Case study number 4, and the last one for me today. Probably for about 15 years, I was interested in technology, but didn't have a clue how to. We sat back and we watched the tech wreck come and go in 2001, and we bought a technology business in Australia right after the tech wreck. And we paid $250,000 for this business. It was losing $60,000 a month when we bought it. But it had good technology, had good bones to it, but just had lousy positioning. So our vision for the business was to unclutter the marketplace because people knew they needed to be in technology, but they didn't know how. I mean, you've had that conversation, no doubt. You sit in front of somebody who's got a technology background and they're trying to help you fix your computer or fix something, and they're talking to you in acronyms, and 9 times out of 10, you just want to lean across the table and stab them with a pencil because they're making you feel bad. They're making you feel stupid. Our guys were doing the same thing. We had 25 guys selling technology to CEOs and making them feel stupid about that journey because they didn't understand what we were saying to them. So I said to my guys, here's my vision. I want to put clarity to a business that's confused because we're confusing our customers. We're confusing the guys coming because we're not explaining it to them in their language. I had a classic example only a couple of weeks ago. I went and got my eyes tested, need new glasses because I wasn't seeing real straight, but had no explanation for the process of what was going on other than you needed a different prescription lens. Okay, What happens next? Is that for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years? Am I old? Is there something else wrong with me? Am I getting headaches because I can't see straight? Tell me what's going on here and talk to me in my language. No. I got all the technical talk for about 35 minutes, drove me nuts. Absolutely nuts. Ultimately walked out, didn't buy a thing, just had an eye check. Because no one was talking to me in my language. If someone had taken me on the journey, if someone had been able to know what I needed in my future, I would have sat there longer and gone, this is great. Now I understand, now I'll purchase. We had the same problem with the technology company. So we took out all the acronyms and buzzwords and started talking to people, not at them. Making it clear for them, making it easy, and engaging them on an energetic level. Because we've got lazy. The way we communicate is really lazy. Think about how many emails or texts you send, and think about how many phone calls you make. I get an email or a text from my doctor, from my dentist, from my optometrist, from every practitioner that I deal with, every other month reminding me I need a checkup. Have I ever had a phone call from them? Never. Do I answer any of those emails or texts? Never. Do I go back to that same practitioner? Never. I've got no loyalty. Our clients in our technology business had no loyalty to us because we weren't talking to them. We would send them an email or ask them to log in or ask them to do stuff. So I said, I want you to just simply ring every single person on our $4,500 database and remind them of what we do for them and ask them if we can be of any further service. That's it. No rocket science, but engage them on their level in their language. And they did. They rang 4,500 people, top to bottom, and did it again, and did it again, and did it again. We had the business back in the black in 90 days. We put it back on the market 3 years later with a PricewaterhouseCoopers valuation of $7.9 million. And all we did was engage them. Now, once we had them engaged, then we could shift the model because we will once again do the job, get paid for it, do the job, get paid for it. We shifted the model and said, well, what if we created a product for you that was a subscription-based model? And they said, how does that work in this industry? And we came up with an idea that said, don't come to us every 3 or 4 years to upgrade your website. How about we take a little bit of money off you every month and we'll upgrade it for you on the way? Once again, taking the lumps out of the cash flow, but locking the client in for a longer period of time. The reason we got paid so much on exit for that business was not that we had a good web development technology business. The reason we got paid so much is that we had changed the business from one and done, looking for every single transaction, to a subscription model that therefore gave the business future. Because everyone could see, you've got clients that are locked in for the next 5 years. Yes, now my business has value. So consider that. Consider all these things. And I know that when you're trying to apply this stuff to your business, it's a little bit challenging because you're looking at it and saying, yeah, I think I get what you're talking about, but I'd really like to understand how that all works in my business. And I used to do the same thing. I'd listen to speakers and I'd kind of get the information off them, but I'd have trouble applying it to them. So let's just regroup on some of those simple philosophies. If our focus is vision, influence, and execution, let's look at it in your world. The vision for your world in this industry would be to look what the industry is doing and try and predict the future, to try and understand the cycles. Let me give you an example of that. We typically look at our business and we look at it like this. We grow, we invest in growth. We grow, we invest in growth. We grow, we invest in growth. That's the metric that we measure our business on. I need more patients, so I get more patients. I'll make more revenue. If I make more revenue, then I'll be able to make more profit. Then life will be easy. That's what we do. Let's look at the rest of the business cycles that are affecting you right now to help you create your vision. There's the industry cycle. And there is an industry cycle, which is based on commodity price, which is based on the changing dynamics of a business, merge, acquisition that's going on at the moment. Things that are happening in your industry right now have a distinct effect on your business. Consolidation, the changing technology that's out there. Are we following that? Are we one step ahead of it? Because I know that if I'm not ahead of that in any of my industries that I'm involved in, I am not ahead of the curve. I'm not ahead of my competitors. I'm avoiding the accident. I'm not focused on the strategy of winning the race. Then we have the economic influences. Boom, bust, recovery. Boom, bust, recovery. This is also important to us right now. We all sat around 2008 and said, yeah, I get it. You know, had to have a correction, and it's bad, but well, we'll get over it and get on with it. Well, here's the thing, it happens every 7 to 10 years. You go back to the Great Depression in 1930, every 7 to 10 years there's a correction. 2001, tech wreck. 87, Black Monday. Go back even further, every 7 to 10 years the market corrects. Celebrating the Dow Jones at 21,000 right now is not what we should be doing. We should be afraid of that, because there will be a financial correction. Now, my question to you is, are you prepared for that? Is that part of your vision? Because if it's not, then you will not be resilient enough to get through the next inevitable correction, which we are now currently overdue for. Now, I'm not an economist, but I do track this stuff. I track it because I've got to know that I've got the cash resilience to get through another shift in an economic cycle. That's why we've shifted our business models to get money first and then go do the job. To get people to pay us on a regular basis, because it gives us the regular income and opportunity to secure the future of our businesses. And then we've got the other cycle. There's a most important cycle, and that is the emotional cycle in business. I love this business, I hate this business. I love my staff, I hate my staff. I love my wife, I love my wife. Here's what I want you to think about. Your emotional impact on your business will be the future of your success or failure. Simple. Your emotional impact of your business, on your business, will be the success or failure of your future. And here's why. You come to work grumpy or stressed, you are grumpy or stressed to everyone you infect. You come to work tired because you've worked too hard last night before. You're not focused on getting the next sale from the next patient. You're focused on turn one, on avoiding the accident. You're not thinking about the strategy of your business because you're not engaged with it. We've got to find a way to work out where all these cycles converge, because that's where we create opportunity. If I am emotionally sound and square, if I know what's happening with the influences around me, like the economy and the industry, and if I'm not worried about cash, I'm worried about that person in front of me, that patient in front of me, then we are protecting our future. That's how we apply the vision to your industry. From an influential perspective, I just simply want you to consider how you're going to be distinctive, how you're going to be emotive, and how you're going to be collaborative with those you serve, with the patients that you have. Distinctive in the fact that you have a different way to approach them, a reason to be in their lives, a purpose, and they respect that purpose. Emotively connected in that you actually pick up the phone or engage them at point of sale and walk them through the journey in their language, to not make your whole process a commodity-based process. And be collaborative enough that you understand what they need from you, not just today, but you anticipate the needs of their future. If you can do those things, then we've found a better way to influence. And then the last piece is the execution piece. And that simply boils down to, what are you going to do? What will you do differently? I'm going to come back, I'm going to answer that for you after Andrew's had a chance to have a chat with you. But for now, let him give you perspective on how he's worked out some of these things in his business.
All right, you guys hear me okay? So I'm Dr. Andrew Neukirch. I am a practicing optometrist, like most of you in the north suburbs of Chicago. I have read all of Troy's books. His most recent one is fantastic. I see a lot of parallels to our profession, and my role here is to kind of help connect the dots for you guys, so you guys can kind of understand how I'm doing a lot of these things already in my practice, and things that I've learned from his books that I've implemented now. But before I do that, though, I want to do a little exercise with you guys here. So this is pretty cool. I want everyone in the room to say the word good. Okay? And now I want everyone in the room to say the word I. Okay? And then now I want you all to say the word might. All right, and now I want you to connect all three of these words together, good, I, and might, like you would say in a sentence. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Good eye, might. You get it? So now you guys know the appropriate way to say hello to Troy out there when you see us out in the exhibit hall here. All right, so my journey started as a 2008 graduate, $200,000 in student loans or more. I now own outright a fantastic private practice. I have no debt whatsoever besides a mortgage in the north suburbs of Chicago. We've got a lot of specialty care, 2 full-time doctor equivalents, really great practice. I've met my income goals, those kind of things. And now the next move, though, is I'm attempting to future-proof my practice. I want to make sure that my practice is here for the long term. I want to make sure that my security for my family is there. I want to make sure the security for my staff is there. I want to obviously continue to take care of all of my patients and also hopefully improve the quality of life in our community as well, too. So when I took over this failing practice that wasn't even profitable in 2011, there were so many moving parts. I had no idea of where to even start. One of the first pieces I looked at, though, was soft contact lens sales. I figured out that we needed to have our go-to products that were going to be the best for the patient, health-wise and so on and so forth, but that were also profitable to our bottom line, so we're able to pay ourselves and continue taking care of our practice and our patients. Without a doubt, one-day contact lenses are the answer, as I'm sure most of you guys in this room would agree or have already come to that conclusion. Now, what's the most difficult thing with selling your supply of contact lenses, of dailies in particular? Cost, yes, absolutely, cost. And so that's where CooperVision has now stepped in with this new subscription-based model called Lens Fairy S, where patients take that entire year supply payment. It's broken down into 12 equal payments throughout the year, just like your cell phone bill. And patients are distributed contact lenses on a 3-month basis, a quarterly basis if it's a 1-day lens, or a 6-month basis if it's a monthly lens. The patient with that last shipment is also sent a recall through there to get them back into your office to schedule their annual comprehensive eye exam. So, put yourself in your patient's shoes for a few moments. Imagine if we had to all pay our cell phone bills all at once a year. My bill's over $100 a month. If I'm buying a new cell phone too, there's another $800. I mean, that might be a $2,000 bill. It's much easier to stomach these $100 a month payments. In the example of daily contacts, let's say it's a $500 year supply contact lenses. 500 over 12, that's only $41 a month. So I think that's a much easier proposition if the pushback is ever going to be price of a year supply from contacts. I think it'd be pretty easy to sell a $41 a month product. All right, so how has my business been able to kind of stay relevant and evolve over the past 6 years since I've had it? Well, I saw lots of parallels with these businesses that Troy was talking about today here. The first business was the Poolworks business, the pool company. And so this is where he was shifting the conversation from price to value. Now, in our practice, and as I'm sure as in all of your practices, we like to take the absolute best care of our patients possible, but we are by no means anywhere close to the least the most expensive game the least expensive game in town. You can literally go to the practice right next door to mine. My address is 1900. This guy is 1920. And you can get a very similar service for literally half the price, sometimes less. So how do we build that value with our patients? I like to build it through trust. Whenever I'm prescribing a certain service or providing a service, or I'm prescribing a specific product, I'm educating that patient really well on specifically why I'm doing it. If it's someone with the chief complaint of driving at night in glasses, I'm going to prescribe a specific anti-reflective coating to help with that, and I'm going to educate them why that specific one. If it's let's say it's a 13-year-old doing contact lenses for the first time. Usually mom or dad's in the chair or in the exam room with them as well. I'm going to educate them why I'm choosing that specific lens, why I'm choosing a 1-day lens, and also any other features, whether it's breathability, comfort, UV protection, all of those kind of things. I give them every reason to understand that I value them being there. I really care about the safety and the health of that patient. And in turn, that creates that trust and that creates that value. The second business Troy talked about, the advertising agency, correct? So the advertising agency, that went from a lot of what we do. We provide a service, and then we expect payment after the service has been rendered. A lot of times we're chasing down those payments. He switched this company over to a retainer-based model where everyone paid for things up front, and then they provided the services. We have embraced that 100% wholeheartedly with all of our specialty care. We do a lot of orthokeratology. We do a lot of vision therapy. For ortho-K patients, we are charging that upfront fee before anything is even done. With vision therapy patients, we sell vision therapy sessions in blocks of 12. They don't start another 12 blocks if they need them, or another 12 weeks unless they've paid for that. This accomplishes two things in our practice. One, that cash flow issue, it's not a problem. We're not chasing down any money whatsoever with these specialty care patients. Two, these are our most profitable patients in the practice. And three, it almost solves the issue of no-shows. If patients have already paid for services up front, you can bet your you-know-what that they're going to come in for every single appointment unless there's a dire circumstance. Now, I know we all don't do specialty care. I do see a very strong parallel, though, with the retainer model when it comes to year supplies of contact lenses. If you're able to sell that year supply of daily contact lenses right then and there to the patient, excellent. That's fantastic. Same thing, if you're not able to do that, you can use Lens Fairy S as a tool to, again, lower that cost. You're still going to get paid the same thing. It solves the issue of cash flow. It also accomplishes something else. You've taken that contact lens wearer out of the market for the next year. They are not going to be, or they are very unlikely to be price shopping at big box stores. They're very unlikely to be looking online for the cost of their contact lenses if they've already got a whole year supply sitting in the medicine cabinet, or if they've got these automatic shipments coming to them. The third example, the Complete Energy Solution, the electrical contracting company. All of our patients come to us. So again, with the electrical contractors, that was an example where we took a company where they were providing a la carte type services into a complete energy solution where they explained everything, but they didn't offer a whole suite of services. In our practice, and in your practices as well, people are usually coming to you, specifically new patients that have a very specific reason for being there. They broke their glasses, they ran out of contacts, contact lens prescription expired, they have an eye infection. I was really surprised when I started paying attention to my practice at how many patients didn't understand all the other services we offer. A lot of your patients probably don't know that you do eye infections, you can treat infections, that you do emergency eye care, that you do kids exams even, or you do adult exams, or senior exams, or infant exams, or that you use specialty care if you're doing that, if that even exists within your practice. So we look at every new patient as a chance to educate them on what it is that we do and provide for them. We also use CooperVision's Web System 3 service to communicate with the patients. Every new patient gets a welcome email that not only thanks them for coming to our practice, but it also provides a response for some candid feedback, as well as a nice explanation in there of, again, all of these services and all of these things that we offer. We've also gone out of our way to make very close relationships to all the specialty ophthalmology practices in our area. And so whenever anyone comes to us with any eye problem whatsoever, we can take care of it or get them into the best hands that can. So we've positioned ourselves as kind of, instead of an optometry office, as a complete eye care solution. So everything, the whole suite of services, it's all there. Finally, the web design company, the subscription-based model. So they went from a company like most of us probably use, where you pay a bunch of money up front to have your website redesigned, and then you forget about it for 5 years, 7 years, and sometimes longer than that with a lot of our websites. They're now on a subscription-based model. I ironically switched to a company that does this about 1.5 years ago. Maybe it's yours. I haven't even ran that by you yet. And I can tell you from the consumer side, it's phenomenal. I'm probably ultimately paying a little bit more for my website, but they are in constant contact with me, and I'm not getting nickel and dimed every time I'm asking for an update. And if I haven't given them an update in a while, they're asking me. So that accomplishes a number of things. Our website is always fresh, though. The blog is always getting updated, and it's not just some cookie cutter blog or whatever. Really boosts SEO, or show up #1 on Google. It's fantastic. But back inside of our practices, again, the subscription-based service like Lens Fairy S, again, I think is going to be another great tool to keep those dollars within all of our four walls, so we can invest it back into the practice and taking care of our patients. So the future of our profession. The future, there's no question, in the title of this presentation is the future of optometry. There's no question the ground is moving beneath our feet. There's so many things going on right now. I have a very, very positive outlook on the profession for a number of reasons. Number one, we know that the average practice revenue is growing, has been growing every year consistently since 2010. Number two, the number of ophthalmologists coming out of residency has been relatively flat for the last 25 years. We know that our patients are getting older They're living a lot longer lives than anyone in humanity's history ever has. These patients need more eye care. There's going to be more medical eye care, and it's going to be up to us to take the slack. Another really interesting thing that I've been noticing, particularly in the Chicago market, that's happening nationwide, is the movement of private equity into our space. So my eye doctor is literally right around the corner from us. They bought over 40 practices in the Chicago area in the last year alone. So established practices already. Ironically, I had a meeting with the president of 1-800-CONTACTS in Chicago yesterday morning. Good timing on this. 1-800-CONTACTS has opened up 3 brick-and-mortar optometry offices. The 4th one opens tomorrow. And I can tell you these places are gorgeous, and it made me a little nervous. And I heard it from the president's mouth that that's where it stops. The pilot stops at 4. But the next plan B of the pilot is they're going to be buying 4 other established private practices in the Chicago market. And if and when this thing takes off, it's going to expand nationwide. Now, I don't look at the move of private equity into our space as a negative at all. Sure, it's going to be a challenge to start competing with these companies that have deeper pockets than we do. But private equity is in the business of making money. What these large funds and companies do is they buy other businesses, try to run them more efficiently, make them more profitable, and then in a couple of years' time, sell them again for more money than they paid for it in the first place. It's very rare that these large funds ever make bad bets. So the fact that they are moving so quickly and aggressively into our profession and into our market, tells me that there's nothing but just tremendous upside potential over the next decade. I do see a very strong parallel, though, with the retainer model when it comes to year supplies of contact lenses. If you're able to sell that year supply of daily contact lenses right then and there to the patient, excellent. That's fantastic. Same thing, if you're not able to do that, you can use LensFerry S as a tool to, again, lower that cost. You're still going to get paid the same thing. It solves the issue of cash flow. It also accomplishes something else. You've taken that contact lens wearer out of the market for the next year. They are not going to be, or they are very unlikely to be price shopping at big box stores. They're very unlikely to be looking online for the cost of their contact lenses if they've already got a whole year supply sitting in the medicine cabinet, or if they've got these automatic shipments coming to them. The third example, the Complete Energy Solution, the electrical contracting company. All of our patients come to us. So again, with the electrical contractors, that was an example where we took a company where they were providing a la carte type services into a complete energy solution where they explained everything, but they didn't offer a whole suite of services. In our practice, and in your practices as well, people are usually coming to you, specifically new patients that have a very specific reason for being there. They broke their glasses, they ran out of contacts, contact lens prescription expired, they have an eye infection. I was really surprised when I started paying attention to my practice at how many patients didn't understand all the other services we offer. A lot of your patients probably don't know that you do eye infections, you can treat infections, that you do emergency eye care, that you do kids exams even, or you do adult exams, or senior exams, or infant exams, or that you use specialty care if you're doing that, if that even exists within your practice. So we look at every new patient as a chance to educate them on what it is that we do and provide for them. We also use CooperVision's Web System 3 service to communicate with the patients. Every new patient gets a welcome email that not only thanks them for coming to our practice, but it also provides a response for some candid feedback, as well as a nice explanation in there of, again, all of these services and all of these things that we offer. We've also gone out of our way to make very close relationships to all the specialty ophthalmology practices in our area. And so whenever anyone comes to us with any eye problem whatsoever, we can take care of it or get them into the best hands that can. So we've positioned ourselves as kind of, instead of an optometry office, as a complete eye care solution. So everything, the whole suite of services, it's all there. Finally, the web design company, the subscription-based model. So they went from a company like most of us probably use, where you pay a bunch of money up front to have your website redesigned, and then you forget about it for 5 years, 7 years, and sometimes longer than that with a lot of our websites. They're now on a subscription-based model. I ironically switched to a company that does this about a year and a half ago. Maybe it's yours. I haven't even ran that by you yet. And I can tell you from the consumer side, it's phenomenal. I'm probably ultimately paying a little bit more for my website, but they are in constant contact with me, and I'm not getting nickel and dimed every time I'm asking for an update. And if I haven't given them an update in a while, they're asking me. So that accomplishes a number of things. Our website is always fresh, though. The blog is always getting updated, and it's not just some cookie cutter blog or whatever. Really boosts SEO or show up #1 on Google. It's fantastic. But back inside of our practices, again, the subscription-based service like LensFairy S, again, I think is going to be another great tool to keep those dollars within all of our four walls so we can invest it back into the practice and taking care of our patients. So the future of our profession. The future, there's no question in the title of this the title of this presentation is The Future of Optometry. There's no question the ground is moving beneath our feet. There's so many things going on right now. I have a very, very positive outlook on the profession for a number of reasons. Number one, we know that the average practice revenue is growing, has been growing every year consistently since 2010. Number two, the number of ophthalmologists coming out of residency has been relatively flat for the last 25 years. We know that our patients are getting older. They're living a lot longer lives than anyone in humanity's history ever has. These patients need more eye care. There's going to be more medical eye care, and it's going to be up to us to take the slack. Another really interesting thing that I've been noticing, particularly in the Chicago market that's happening nationwide, is the movement of private equity into our space. So my eye doctor is literally right around the corner from us. They bought over 40 practices in the Chicago area in the last year alone, so established practices already. Ironically, I had a meeting with the president of 1-800-Contacts in Chicago yesterday morning. Good timing on this. 1-800-Contacts has opened up 3 brick-and-mortar optometry offices. The 4th one opens tomorrow, and I can tell you these places are gorgeous, and it made me a little nervous. And I heard it from the president's mouth that that's where it stops. The pilot stops at 4, but the next plan B of the pilot is they're going to be buying 4 other established private practices in the Chicago market, and if and when this thing takes off, it's going to expand nationwide. Now, I don't look at the move of private equity into our space as a negative at all. Sure, it's going to be a challenge to start competing with these companies that have deeper pockets than we do, but private equity is in the business of making money. What these large funds and companies do is they buy other businesses, try to run them more efficiently, make them more profitable, and then in a couple years' time sell them again for more money than they paid for it in the first place. It's very rare that these large funds ever make bad bets. So the fact that they are moving so quickly and aggressively into our profession and into our market, tells me that there's nothing but just tremendous upside potential over the next decade. And so 10 years from now, I've got some predictions of what's gonna happen out there in our profession. So SECO 2027, we'll be talking about these things. Number one is the line between optometry and ophthalmology will only continue to be more blurred. Our practice scope will continue to expand. We need to be embracing that medical model and taking care of our patients more from a medical side as vision plan reimbursements don't go up, all that kind of other stuff, and plus the patient's just going to need to be taken care of. Number two, I feel like, or I know that myopia the myopia epidemic is kind of getting a little out of control. There's a lot of stuff kind of going on today. I really do firmly believe that myopia control and myopia control research and the techniques and things we're using are going to become commonplace in the majority of our practices, and I think myopia control is going to become a household name. Number three, there's no doubt in my mind that one-day contact lenses are going to be the primary modality of all contact lenses sold in the United States. Right now it's somewhere only around 20%. Everyone in this room knows it's the best thing for the patient, and so it's just a matter of time before everyone kind of figures that out nationwide, and the majority of lenses out there are all dailies. And then finally, the delivery method by the way which patients get contact lenses. I'm a big fan of online stuff. I love Amazon, even though I'm a small business owner. It's just more convenient. The increase in online contact lens sales is going to go up. It's the easiest way of getting lenses. Lens Fairy S really does give us a great tool to directly compete with that it's just as good as online sales. It might even be easier for the patient. And again, it's going to ultimately keep those dollars in our practices and ultimately help us, again, take better care of our patients. So just kind of wanted to share the vision of my practice for the future. I've got a very specific plan written out. I do what Troy does every morning. I take a 30-minute brain dump and I write out my plan for the day. My vision is very, very simple, though. I picture my practice as continuing to be seen not as a doctor's office, but as a destination for families and for patients to seek advanced care that, again, just kind of improves the quality of their lives. So I'm going to pass it back to Troy here.
Good day. So what is good day? It's good day. Come on, give me a break. So I'm going to finish with a bit of a story for you just to kind of tie all these things together for you today. Let me take you back to Tokyo. And the night before I left to come home to Australia with this epiphany that I needed to change. I had been at a board meeting that day for the Entrepreneurs Organisation, which is a networking group of entrepreneurs from around the world. Now, I was sitting in a room with 9 real heavy hitters from around the world. And I'd just been introduced to this group and just been invited to join the board. And I was sitting there all day long just thinking, I just got to shut up and listen to these guys because they're really, really smart. And that's exactly what I did. All day, didn't say a word, just wanted to listen to their stories. There's one guy in particular that really changed the trajectory of our entire business and, in fact, my life. I grabbed him after dinner that night and I said, let's go and have a couple of drinks. I want to listen to your story. Now, he had a business in New York that he started 3 years earlier with $10,000 in capital. $10,000 in capital. And he had made the conscious decision to create a business that was built around 3 basic concepts. Money first, money on the way through, and money last. And I'll explain this to you. I said, tell me your story, Doug, because this is interesting to me. He'd built a business from a standing start to 80 million in revenue in 3 years by using this concept. Here's how it works. Money first is what can you get paid for by selling something to a client for the same reason as your competitors. Now, I'll phrase that. What can you get paid for selling a product to a client for the same reason as your competitors? What I want you to think about is this. Price is in the mind of the seller before it's in the mind of the buyer. In fact, Harvard Business did a review of this about 3 years ago. It was something like 86.9%. Price is in the mind of the seller before it's in the mind of the buyer. So we get nervous and we don't get confident about what we have to sell. Doug's message to me this night was, think about where the money comes first. Be the guy that presents value, that shows value, that has a purpose in that transactional relationship. He said the next thing we do is we make sure we've got money on the way through. His business was based around subscription. And just consider this for a moment. You love all this technology that we're using right now, don't you? You get Facebook and Twitter and all these sort of cool things, and they're all free. It's going to change. It has to change. Because these businesses can't keep giving you stuff on the basis they get advertisers or eyeballs. They have to turn their business into a subscription model. They're sucking you in by giving it to you for free to eventually charge you for it. My friend Doug, who was telling me his story, said he'd found a way in the financial services industry to put it on its head by way of shifting it from a do and charge model to a subscription model. I don't need to give you financial services and then charge you for them in the hope I get paid. He turned his entire business model around paying something every single month for exactly the same service and locking in his clients, which gave his business the value and brought him to the last point to me is money last. If you want to add value to your business, find a way to build an annuity model within it. So Doug built his business based on this annuity subscription model over the course of 3 years to 80 million in revenue and listed it on NASDAQ, putting $250 million in his pocket 3 years after he started the business. Now this aha for me was, this is not rocket science. Be confident. in what you have to sell, and don't be worried about what you sell it for, because then you have a perception of value and you're not focused on price. Find an annuity model in your business that keeps paying you every single week, because that's the real value on the way out. If you can't find this, this doesn't have value. All we have is a practice with a bunch of equipment and a couple of people selling stuff and a few racks of glasses. There's no real value in that, because people who aren't locked into a reason to do business with you don't see the value in that relationship. They're transient. That's why businesses are losing so much business to online. Now, this simple conversation with him at 2 in the morning in Tokyo gave me the head start when I got back to do one thing differently to drive towards this simple business model. And every single flawed business model we had up to that date, we shifted into the 4 different examples I gave you today. So we had money first, confident about what you have to sell, and sell value, not price. Money on the way through, some sort of annuity subscription piece to it. That gave us money on the way out. Gave us a business that had clear and present value to an incoming purchaser. So I've got one last challenge for you. Of all the things we've talked about in the last hour, I want you to just go home and do one thing differently that works towards the strategy of winning the race and not just avoiding the accident. If we keep doing what we're currently doing in business, we're going to continue to focus on avoiding the accident. If we think of how we can find money first, money on the way through, money last, we are looking at the strategy of winning the race, not avoiding the accident. Just one thing that we need to do when we get back to the business on Monday morning. Thanks for spending an hour with us, guys. I hope we got something out of us today.
That's great. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Dr. Neukirch. If anybody has a QR reader, you're happy to scan that. We'd enjoy it if you'd scan the code and fill out a quick survey on what you heard today. Troy and Andrew are going to be at the CooperVision booth, so if you want to talk with them about your own business practices or pick their brains about things that you might do differently, they'll be back at our booth and are happy to talk with you individually. Thanks, everyone.
Yep. I have a question for you. We are in the eye care business, but do you have a vision for your business? You see, small business owners get up and they go and they go and they go every single day just trying to make everything. So you're in the eye care business, but do you have a vision for your business? Sometimes in small business, we get stuck doing the things that are right in front of us. We go hard and go hard and go hard in the hope that life gets easier and it's all good in the end. But if you created a vision for your future, do you know where you're going? Do you know what your business looks like in 3 or 5 years' time? Because if you can create that vision and then attach that to a personal vision, all of a sudden you know where you're going and everything gets easier. Take the time, create that vision, look into the future, know exactly where you're going, and it'll be much easier to get there. So you're in the eye care business, but do you have a vision for your business? Sometimes in small business, we get stuck just going hard and trying to make life better by focusing on what's right in front of us and not looking further into the future. Take the time to sit down and create a vision for your business, and then match that to a personal vision to know where you're going and how your business is going to help you get there. Because if we can create that vision, then all of a sudden the journey is ever so much easier. Okay? It's no secret that the key to growing your business is the ability to influence those we serve, our patients. But what are you doing to really influence them? Well, in our world, we have three basic things we focus on. We're distinctive with them, we are emotively connected to them, and we're collaborative with them. We're distinctive such that we are the only choice they have when it comes to doing business with us. We create an emotional connection with them by talking to them in their language, not ours. And we're collaborative with them. We understand their journey. We know where they're going and how we can be part of that journey well into the future. So how are you going to influence your patients to make sure that you're more distinctive, more emotive, and more collaborative? Hello? I'm making this up as I go, so.
These are the fun ones.
All right. In our business, we have a question that we challenge ourselves with. Are we more focused on cash or clients? Let me explain. If you're worried about paying the bills, about making sure you're keeping the doors open, about getting paid for basic sales in your business, you are not focused on your patients. So what can you do in your business to take those lumps and bumps out of your business? In our world, we've created annuity models, ways that we can take little bits of money off our clients every single day of the week, every single month of the year, to make sure that we have cash flow and we can focus on our interaction with our clients and not worry about cash. It's like a horse going past in the background. Coming to SECO and listening to horses is fantastic. All right, we'll try again.
Well, they gotta go before they get hit by the train.
There you go. Coming to events like SECO are fantastic. We learn lots of great things, we network with great people, we have a fantastic time, and we go home with a head full of great ideas. But what are you going to do with those ideas? What will you do to execute? You know, I used to come to functions like this all the time. I'd go home, I'd have my notes, I'd walk in the front door, I'd be excited, and nothing would change. Until we come up with a little program we call our Wheel of Fortune. We know in our business to make a change, it takes about 21 days before that change becomes a habit. It takes about 90 days before we get into a bit of a groove with that change, and about 180 days before we realize it can be part of our normal business activity. And it'll take us a full year before it becomes part of our culture and the real fabric of our business. So that's our Wheel of Fortune in our businesses. What will you do to create one of those in yours to make sure you execute on the great ideas you pick up from a function like SECO? Or it becomes. Getting me tongue-tied. Yep, go again. You know, coming to functions like SECO are fantastic. You network with great people, you go to great sessions, you learn some great stuff, and you have a good time as well. But when you get home, what will you do with that great information? What will you change? How will you execute? I used to come to functions like this every year. I'd have the notes, I'd have the best intentions, I'd get home excited, but nothing would change. Until we come up with this little idea we called our Wheel of Fortune. We know that to create a new habit takes about 21 days. It'll take us about 90 days to have that turn into a bit of a groove in the business. And after about 180 days, we realize it can actually be part of our normal business processes. But it'll take a full year before that change becomes part of the fabric and the culture in our business. So what will you do to create your Wheel of Fortune, to facilitate change in your business and do something differently with the great information you've got from an event like this? Someone Coming to events like SECO are fantastic. We meet great mates, we have a good time, we hang out, we learn great things, and we go home with the best intentions to facilitate change in our businesses. But what will you do differently when you get back to your business? What will you do to execute? I used to come to these things every year. I'd learn some great things. I'd go home excited and with the best intentions of doing something to create change in our business, and nothing had happened. That's until we come up with a little thing we call our Wheel of Fortune. We know that to even start change in our business, we have to create new habits, and that takes about 21 days. To turn that into a bit of a groove in the business will take us about 90 days. For that to become easier in our business and part of the things we do every day in business, that'll take us about 180 days. But to create the real culture change in our business and have that change be the real fabric we need it to be in the business, it'll take us about 12 months. So what will you do to create the Wheel of Fortune in your business? What will you do differently when you get back to the business on that first day in the office? That's my challenge for you. Bit clunky.
That was perfect. But I always love coming to these trade shows every year, but so much knowledge is thrown at us by so many world-class speakers, it's impossible to implement all of them. What I found is there's really that one great idea that you learn every single year that you can go back and implement in your practice right away. Today, that light bulb went off, and for me, I realized the value of selling year's supply of contact lenses to our patients and looking at it like an annuity. You get the payment up front, you can take that patient out of the market for buying contact lenses throughout the year from the internet or from big box stores, and it keeps them coming back in on time as well too. Well, the number one challenge of selling annual supplies of daily contact lenses is always going to be that higher price point, that higher cost. That's where CooperVision's brand new service, LensFerry S, is able to break that large payment up into 12 equal monthly payments, and then the patients receive automated shipments of their daily contact lenses straight to their home. This really makes practicing a lot easier for me, it saves time for my staff, and just makes being in the practice more enjoyable. That'll work.